the previous lesson, you've learned how to add and subtract polynomials. Now, let us discuss the laws of exponents. This will be used in simplifying expressions and in multiplying and dividing polynomials. Let's have the first law. The first law states that a raised to n is equal to a times a times a n times, wherein your a is not equal to 0 and n is an integer. Let's consider your a raised to n. Your n represent exponent, a represent the base. The exponent will tell how many times we are going to multiply the base by itself. Let's have an example. Number 1, 2 raised to 3. That means we are going to multiply the base 3 times. That is 2 times 2 times 2. Simplify it further, 2 times 2 times 2, that is equal to 8. Therefore, 2 raised to the third power is equal to 8. Number 2, 3 raised to 4. That means we are going to multiply the base 3 4 times. We have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. That is equal to 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. Therefore, 3 raised to 4 is equal to 81. Number 3, 8 raised to 2. That means we are going to multiply the base 8 2 times to itself. That is 8 times 8, which is equal to 64. Therefore, the value of 8 raised to 2 is equal to 64. How about our last example? 5 raised to 5. That means you are going to multiply the base 5 5 times. That is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, which is equal to 3,125. The value of 5 raised to 5 is equal to 3,125. In this law, just simply remember that the exponent will tell how many times we are going to multiply the base by itself. Let's have the second law, power of powers. It states that the quantity a raised to m raised to n is equal to a raised to m times n. When a power is raised to another power, or when an exponential expression is raised to another exponent, just simply multiply the exponents. Let's have an example. Simplify the following. Number 1, the quantity of x raised to 100 raised to 3. Applying the law, you just simply copy the base and multiply the exponent. That is x raised to 100 times 3. Simplify it, we have 100 times 3 is 300 and copy the base x. Therefore, the quantity x raised to 100 raised to 3 is equal to x raised to 300. What about our next example? The quantity y raised to 12 raised to 5. Again, you simply apply the law, which is copy the base and multiply the exponent. That is y raised to 12 times 5. Simplify it further, we have 12 times 5 is 60 and copy the base y. Therefore, the quantity y raised to 12 raised to 5 is equal to y raised to 60. Let's have the third law, product of a power. It states that a raised to m times a raised to n is equal to a raised to m plus n. In multiplying exponential expressions whose bases are the same, just copy the common base and then add its exponents. Let's have an example. Simplify the following. Number 1, x raised to 32 times x raised to 25. You copy the base and add the exponent. That is the law. We have x raised to 32 plus 25. Simplify it. 32 plus 25, it gives you 57, and copy the base. Therefore, x raised to 32 times x raised to 25 is equal to x raised to 57. Let's have another example. Y raised to 59 times y raised to 51. The law says you copy the base and add the exponent. That is y raised to 59 plus 51. Simplify it further. 59 plus 51 is 110, and copy the base y. So, the product of y raised to 59 and y raised to 51 is equal to y raised to 110. Always take note that in multiplying exponential expressions whose bases are the same, just copy the common base and then add its exponents. Let's have the fourth law. Quotient of a power. It states that a raised to m divided by a raised to n is equal to a raised to m minus n. In dividing exponential expressions with the same bases, copy the common base and subtract its exponents. Let's have an example. Simplify the following. Number 1, x raised to 20 divided by x raised to 13. Just simply copy the base and subtract the exponent. That is applying the law. We have x raised to 20 minus 13. Simplify it further. 20 minus 13 is 7, and copy the common base, which is x. Then, the quotient of x raised to 20 divided by x raised to 13 is x raised to 7. What about our next example? Y raised to 105 divided by y raised to 87. Applying the law, copy the common base and subtract the exponent. That is y raised to 105 minus 87. Simplify it further. We have 105 minus 87 is 18, and copy the base y. Therefore, the quotient of y raised to 100 divided by y raised to 87 is equal to y raised to 18. Let's have our last law. Law for zero exponent states that a raised to 0 is equal to 1, where a is not equal to 0. Always take note that any non-zero number raised to a zero exponent is always equal to 1. Let's have an example. Evaluate the following. Number 1, the quantity of 7,654,321 raised to 0. Applying the law that any non-zero number raised to a zero exponent is equal to 1. Let's have another example. 3 raised to 0 plus x raised to 0 plus the quantity of 3y raised to 0. That is equal to, applying the law, 3 raised to 0 is equal to 1 plus x raised to 0 is equal to 1 plus the quantity of 3y raised to 0 is equal to 1. Simplify. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to 3. Let us summarize the laws of exponent. For any real number a is not equal to 0 and positive integer m and n. The first law states that a raised to n is equal to a times a times a n times, in which the exponent tells you how many times you are going to multiply the base. The second law is power of powers. States that the quantity a raised to m raised to n is equal to a raised to m n. Just simply copy the base and multiply the exponent. And for our next law, product of a power states that a raised to m times a raised to n is equal to a raised to m plus n. Just simply copy the base and add the exponent. And for our fourth law, the quotient of a power states that a raised to m divided by a raised to n is equal to a raised to m minus n. You simply copy the common bases and subtract the exponent. And for our fifth law, a raised to 0 is equal to 1. That is the law for zero exponent. Any non-zero number raised to 0 is equal to 1. There are still other laws of exponents which you will learn in grade 9. For now, you have to learn first the basic laws discussed in this video so that you will be able to understand other laws to be discussed in higher grade level. The laws of exponent, we are going to use this concept as we multiply and divide your polynomials.